Alright, welcome back everybody to another best of style video for weightlifting. We've done best of snatch saves, clean and jerk saves, powers. Last week we did back squats, and I wanted to do something a little bit more specific to weightlifting. So this week we're going with front squats. Now I hate to disappoint, but last week a few people were upset that I started off with a squat from a powerlifting competition, even though it was done by an American record holder weightlifter. This time I'm also going to start off with a powerlifter because they actually have the biggest front squat ever. So 405 kilos by Jezza Uepa, which I think you got to give credit where credit's due. He's not a weightlifter, but I don't think any super weightlifter ever will have touched this type of weight in training. Partly because they don't need to. I mean, if you're clean and jerking 260 kilos, you have no business front squatting over 400 kilos. So let's check this one out to start with. Okay, so he's going with a crossed over sort of zombie position with his hands. But that doesn't make the front squat any easier. If anything, it makes it slightly more difficult if you don't have the mobility to get into a rack position. That's a ridiculous lift. He also had done 400 kilos, so let's check that one out too, because this is, I mean, these are the heaviest and second heaviest front squats of all time, so they're worth taking note of, even if you are a weightlifter. I think we can all appreciate a certain level of greatness here. And you know what? I think he basically hits depth. I mean, in an IPF competition, maybe that would get called on depth, but that's pretty good in my books. Okay, so now from an enormous man in Jezza Uepa to one of the smallest men we have, Ivanov, the Bulgarian weightlifter, 55 kilo weightlifter. I think he's currently the head coach of the Bulgarian national team. So he actually weighed, 52 kilos in this video. The old 55 kilo class was a 52 kilo class. This is a 210 kilo front squat, which makes it a 4 times bodyweight front squat. And he moves it pretty fast, and he does it with Abajev watching on. He does it with Jordi Gardev in the back, the Bulgarian 85 kilo snatch record holder. And just take a minute to appreciate that. I mean, people talk about trying to get a double bodyweight back squat. A triple bodyweight back squat is relatively elite. To be able to do a triple bodyweight front squat is, close to unheard of. And then a 4 times bodyweight front squat is the pinnacle of specific strength training. And what's crazy is just the frequency with which they do this. I mean, this is a nonchalant lift. Abajev is watching as though we've seen this several times that day, which he may well have done. When we spoke to Ivan Ivanov's teammate, Stefan Botev was saying how they basically trained 3 times a day. He went through every single session, what they would do, but they would be front squatting to max 3 times a day, taking roughly 6 to 7 maximum attempts at the front squat in each of those sessions. So we're looking at close to in and around 20 maximal front squats per day. This right here is just one of them. Okay, again, let's go from, we went big man, small man, we'll go big man again. We've got Hossein Rezazadeh, the Iranian super heavyweight, the most decorated Iranian weightlifter ever, 2-time Olympic champion, enormous fella, and here he is doing a 280 kilo front squat. Now this doesn't quite compare to the 405 from Jezza Uepa, but the speed that this guy is doing this, Rezazadeh is an absolute monster. I mean, I don't know the velocity of this lift. I don't know what his 1 rep max is, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think if any super heavyweight weightlifter ever was going to be the person who would front squat the most weight, I think it would be him. He doesn't have the heaviest clean and jerk ever. He doesn't have the 266 Taranenko. He doesn't have the pull of Lasher, but I think he probably has a strength that is probably unrivaled by any other weightlifter throughout time. Just ridiculous. Okay, next we have Olga Zubova from Russia. I don't know when this lift was filmed, but she's competed within the last decade. This, a 170 kilo paused front squat. Again, obviously this lift significantly over the world record when this was done. And technically she just moves with absolute perfection. There's Safonov, her coach. We've got an interview of Safonov on the Weightlifting House Patreon, in fact. And just an incredibly easy lift. Here's 180 in the front squat. Got the old Volt Romelia shoes on. That kind of dates this a little bit. We're probably looking around 2013 for some of these, 2014. Here's 180 again, although I think she's going to jerk it. It may be a front squat video, but anytime we see a non-super heavyweight female lifter jerk 180, it's worth checking out. Okay, over now to what I think is, I regard this as the most impressive front squat ever. Partly just because of the physique of this athlete. I mean, he's built to front squat, which makes it, I don't know, maybe less impressive, but it's just so impressive watching him do this. Now, this is a relatively unknown lift, actually. It's a guy called Dursun Sevinc. He's an 85 kilo weightlifter, and this is a 280 kilo front squat, which I think probably makes it the most impressive front squat, certainly in this list, but maybe of all time on film. And just, have you ever seen proportions like this? Let's just check this out one more time, because I mean, I'm going to pause it right at the bottom. His femurs are so incredibly short. I mean, he's at the position now where his knees will be the most displaced forward that they're going to be during the entire lift. And even there, they barely reach the front of his toes. And it's not like he's got the smallest feet I've ever seen. Torso ridiculously long. This guy was just born differently, built different. And as you can see in the notes that I wrote when I posted this a few years ago, he's a 1997 world silver medalist. He went 170, 205, 5-time European medalist, best lifts of 170 and 210. And with a 280 front squat, I can only imagine that 210 was stood up pretty damn fast. Okay, next I wanted to give a shout out to Emily Campbell from Great Britain. She trains just an hour or so north of where I am right now. And whilst these may not be the heaviest front squats ever, the speed with which she does them, the ease with which she does them, her predictive 1 rep max is probably quite impressive. So here we are, 180 kilos for some easy doubles in the front squat after a full day of training already at this point. Also worth bearing in mind, I mean, she just jerked 165 kilos out of the rack. She used to be a thrower, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see her pushing about 160 kilos at the Olympics in less than 50 days. One more time.
Yeah, she was a thrower.
Okay, so it wouldn't be fair if I didn't mention Tian Tao in any kind of squat video. To be honest, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't mention Toshiki Yamamoto. And you know what? I'm not going to mention Toshiki Yamamoto. I've forgotten to put him in. But you can see his front squats anywhere. Tian Tao, on the other hand, we've kind of got to do. If I don't do this, I'm going to have a barrage of comments down below, people getting angry that I left him out. So I've got 2 Tian Tao squat videos, one at 96, one at 85. This first one at 96, 270 kilos. Less impressive technically. It's less weight than the next video and at a heavier body weight, but the speed of it is remarkable. It's no wonder we know that he can clean in the high 230s, probably closer to 240 kilos in training, honestly. Here's 270, moves it very, very fast. And again, all of these guys are built to front squat. The thing you'll notice with the best front squatters in the world, more so than the back squat, is that physical short femur, long spine is even more pronounced. In the back squat, it's pronounced with the best ever, but not quite as much as the front squat. And then the deadlift, much less so. In fact, if anything on the deadlift, it's the other way around that you want to be. But obviously with the front squat, where essentially you're just relying on your knee flexors, you want to remain as vertical as possible, create the least amount of a forward lean, smallest moment arm you can around the hip. And that's why you see people looking like Tian Tao and like Dursun Sevinc, who has the freakiest physiques in weightlifting. And then the second front squat from Tian Tao, which easily is the most impressive, this is 280 kilos. Now, actually, he may not have been an 85 here. I think this was sort of 2017, just prior to 2018. He'd competed as an 85. We hadn't seen him at the 2017 World, so we didn't know what weight class he was going to come out at. He ended up obviously coming out at 96. I think this was during that transition period. But even so, this is 280 kilos. This is a heavier, more impressive lift. And as you can see, far more maximal as well. The Chinese go to max on their squats a lot more than I think people realize. In most systems, other than a Bulgarian style system, there's a lot of volume at the 70 to 80% range. There is also for the Chinese. They tend to squat, at least as far as I'm aware, at the higher level twice a week only. They do more pulls and deadlifts. Again, it's a physique thing. But in the squats, one of those squat days is going to be higher volume. It's going to be the 6 sets of 4, the 5 sets of 3 type training at the 75-80% mark. And then one of the days is going to be essentially a 1 rep max in either the back or the front squat. This clearly the 1 rep max for Tian here at 280. Okay, the next two lifts, and to be honest, I almost didn't want to mention these because we've spoken about Boyanka so much on a news show, and then with Zach, and then in the back squat video. But, you know, again, take it with a pinch of salt. She's a banned athlete. She's been banned now 2 times. We're never going to see her compete again at this point. So when she did this, there's no way you should assume that she was clean, that she was able to do this naturally, that anyone can do this naturally. But let's still take a look at it because it's still an impressive feat of strength nonetheless. The first, a 190 kilo front squat. Now, as you can see, what I've said in the description of this video when I posted it first, the IPF squat world record in the 57 kilo class is 174, and then 183 in the heavier 63 kilo class. So she weighed around 60 kilos at the time of filming this and front squatted significantly more than even the IPF back squat record. And then if you thought that was impressive, in another video, which has got about 15 pixels in it, she then goes and front squats 200 kilos at 58 kilos. So again, she probably weighed somewhere around 60 kilos. And so again, she is somewhere close to around 20 kilos above the IPF world record in the back squat. Again, IPF is tested. I don't think anyone can assume that Boyanka is being tested at this period in her life, but the speed that she stands this up, this might actually be the most impressive. This might be the most impressive front squat ever, just as an outlier against all others. It's like watching Tian Tao out front squat the IPF world record back squat, which is probably somewhere around 340 for a 96. So this is like seeing Tian Tao front squat like 370. This is just truly absurd. Next, we have another, well, I guess currently banned lifter. We have Gabriel Sincraian. Also, it just so happens that obviously the best weightlifters, a lot of them, a large portion of those were popped, but during their career, they ended up doing some of the biggest lifts. And so when we're doing these kinds of videos, we're just going to end up seeing it. But this is a truly remarkable video. Not only is Gabriel Sincraian a beautiful technician, he has some incredibly strong legs, and the technique that he uses even in these assistant style exercises is pretty remarkable. Here's a 240 kilo double. He was an 85 kilo lifter, and this is somewhat prior to Rio 2016, probably early 2016 this is. And he just moves so fast. There's barely any sticking point. He gets a nice bounce. I mean, let's be honest, he looks like he could have done that for certainly a set of 4, maybe a set of 5. He looks like his 1RM would quite honestly be closer to 280 kilos here. Okay, and then I've kind of got to do a little bit with Ilya Ilyin. I'm going to pick 2 of my favorite squats from him. So one is just the heaviest front squat he ever did. There are rumors where he says, well, people are saying that he's done over 300 kilos. He hasn't. I've literally spoken to him about this on more than one occasion. This is his biggest front squat, 290 kilos. I'm sure he could have done more. He says he thinks he could have done more, but there was never any need to. So this first, 290, he did this as a 105. Again, this was, I believe, just prior to Almaty 2014. I think it was August. Here we go, 290 at 105, and he comes up so fast. And also, something that's interesting he does with all of his front squats, just like in the clean and jerk, where he times the oscillation, stands up the clean, 1, 2, dip, drive overhead. He even does it with the front squat. The whole movement, right from walking up and unracking the weight, is pieced together perfectly. So as you can see, 1, 2, down, and up. And he does that on all of his front squats. And this, by the end of his career, where he hit the 246, I mean, we're looking at 44 kilos over that. So he certainly has an excess in strength. And you can see the classic front squat anthropometrics here. I mean, short femurs, long spine, knees that go straight out when he squats. And then this whole front squat sequence from Ilya, I always wanted to take a look at just because the speed of these front squats, even if they are kind of 80, 85, maybe 90%, is truly remarkable. And we'll see him doing the timing on this. So here's 230. Watch as he walks it out. He'll take 2 oscillations and then he'll drop himself down into the squat. 1, 2, down. Now this is 240 kilos for Ilya. And again, this is just a good time for weightlifting. This was back before Instagram had really taken over as the place to go for weightlifting. There are a few good vlogs on YouTube. This was when Ilya was vlogging, Klokov was vlogging, John North was vlogging, Cal Strength was, still blowing up. And I think because there was such a lack of weightlifting except for here on YouTube, it kind of made the quality and the excitement of weightlifting a little bit more enjoyable. on the out of competition side of things. Okay, and then finally from Ilya, here's the 250. I just think the speed with which he's able to do this is crazy. Just remarkable. And again, let's just look at this oscillation, just the timing of the whole thing. He uses the whip and the energy of the bar better than anyone. And he's up. Unracks it. 1, 2, down, up. Okay, so 2 more lifts next. We have Coach Mary Tyson-Lappin, and again, another friend of Weightlifting House, actually. And here she is lifting on the Weightlifting House plates. I promise that's not why I picked the video. It's because it's a 205 kilo front squat, which is just so damn impressive. In fact, Will Fleming, her coach, just got back to me and said that she's probably going to be doing 210 kilos next week, but we got to get this video up. So it might be that right now you can actually see Coach Mary doing 210, but this is a tremendous lift. And again, much like Emily Campbell, who I mentioned earlier, Coach Mary was also a thrower before she became a weightlifter, and she was just a freak athlete. She said on the Weightlifting House podcast that she'd hang power cleaned 130 kilos before she even made the transition into weightlifting from throwing. So there's 205 for you. And then the final lift is from Venezuelan weightlifter Keydomar Vallenilla, 89 kilo weightlifter, now moved up to 96. I think he'll be in Tokyo actually as a 96 kilo weightlifter. He hit a 3.1 time bodyweight front squat, but he did this when he was an 89, not as a 96. So he probably weighed somewhere around 91 kilos, 200 pounds. This 280 kilo front squat. Also, for those who don't remember, he was the junior world record holder in the clean and jerk. He jumps like 2 feet back, has a very small pull, and then just rockets up out of the clean. Here is this 280 kilo lift from 91 kilo Keydomar. Oh. And again, just the size of the quads, the shortness of the femurs, absolutely remarkable. And that is that's my list. If you think there were some front squats that should have been in here that weren't, comment down below. I can always do a part 2. These bad boys will be out soon, kind of just teasing them. We will be releasing these in the coming few days, so make sure you check out the Weightlifting House store on Instagram and the Weightlifting House store online, weightliftinghouse.com. You can pick these up along with bars and a whole load of other equipment. Guys, appreciate you tuning in, and I shall catch you all on another episode of the Weightlifting House YouTube.